Hello, hello. It is that time again. It is what? Tuesday. Woo woo, 8 p.m. And as you know, it is time to have that conversation in what? In black. So, if you're watching, please take a moment and share this live stream on all of your platforms. Text your friends, inbox your friends, let them know that we are here sharing our life experiences in black. So tonight's topic is erased or embrace black LGBTQ plus and trans attracted people in black celebrations and in resistance. I am your host. My name is Peirrce or Peach. Most of you know me by Peach. Either way, it is fine. As usual, this is a IME Inc. broadcast, and all the views and thoughts shared here are of our panels and not necessarily of IME Inc.'s views and thoughts. So let's have this discussion in black. I'm going to bring on my panel tonight. And we're gonna see how they doing. I see Tim and Smack and Stan. Let's bring Kalani on. How is everyone?
I'm doing good.
Doing great.
I'm
Are y'all
well.
Welcome, Kalani.
Welcome, Kalani.
Everyone.
Yes, we have a new
Dre
person
and
on the
Zay.
panel.
Welcome.
Yes,
Welcome.
they all in the back hiding. Before we get started and get on the main screen, Donna is not here tonight, but let's just say happy birthday to Donna. She is out celebrating her birthday.
Happy birthday,
Happy
Donna. Turn
birthday.
up,
Happy birthday,
dancing,
Donna.
sexy.
Happy birthday, Donna. We love you and we can't wait till you come back. All
There's a
right.
vibration coming through. We hear double time.
You hear double tones? Okay, 1 second. So I'm going to take y'all off the screen for 1 second and then we're going to begin the conversation. Well, not off the screen, in our main screen. Okay, so
Someone they
gotta
gotta
mute.
mute their mic
Somebody
when
gotta
they're not
mute your
talking.
mic.
It's terrible.
Everybody gotta mute. Thank you. All right. So you know how this work, everyone. Can y'all hear me loud and clear? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Y'all don't hear any strange noises or anything.
No.
No.
Okay. So as you know, you guys in the audience feel free to comment in the chat section where you're watching. Leave your questions. Also, as we go through this, the screen that I am on, as I ask the question, each panelist will come in the hot seat and answer the question, so on and so forth, until we get to the end where we'll all pop on the screen and just ask each other questions and share our thoughts. All right. So, as we know, June is full of so many holidays, and I haven't figured that out yet as to why it's Pride Month. Well, I know why it's Juneteenth, and then it's Father's Day. It's just so many holidays that we have to get through in the month of June. It's amazing. I'm like, oh God. Um, can we even, you need a whole bankroll for June. The month of June is something. It's like Christmas. All right. So with the topic, erase or embrace, we're gonna look at and
Excuse-
answer these
I don't mean to
questions.
interrupt you, but it's coming through weird. I don't know if your hair is touching the mic.
That is
So
not me.
okay, something is coming through real weird.
Can you hear it now?
No.
That's not me.
I hear a beep.
Like an alarm.
Yeah.
Y'all hear a beep?
Yeah.
Oh,
You know,
That's
like when you need to change your alarm on the fire alarm, when
okay.
you need to change the batteries and it makes that beep,
Oh, beep, beep.
beep,
Okay. Let me
beep.
change my and
and I think if you're not talking, mute your mic because
Can you
the
hear me now?
background is.
Can you hear it now?
The beep.
No,
No.
it's going.
Okay. So I took myself off the main mic. Do you hear me clear? Okay.
100%.
All right. So let's start off with the question. So we're going to go through the celebrations and being embraced, and then we're going to talk about the resistant piece when it comes to holidays and us celebrating. So we're going to start out with personal celebrations. This is with your friends and your family. So the first question is, do you feel embraced or erased during family celebrations? And I want you to give it to me from a perspective of you being with yourself and also you being with your partner or bringing your partner, or maybe not even a partner, a LGBT close friend or trans attracted close friend. Do you feel embraced and erased at these family cookouts and this Juneteenth and all this stuff that's happening? I'm going to put Andre and Zay in the hot seat.
Um, I don't feel erased. I mean, like I feel embraced. My family surprisingly loves Zay. I think Zay's a whole turn up. That's probably why, because my family's crazy. But they actually look forward to seeing him when I do show up. Like if I show up without him, they're like, "So where is Xavier?" You know, they're very supportive, and we are a close knit family. That's how we were brought up. It's how my grandfather raised us to be, and so we embrace what he's taught us, and so we do everything as one big family. On you.
Mine's is I'm going to say the opposite because like when I was growing up, we all would have functions and everybody would be there. But then the older I got, it felt like everybody just went their separate ways, or it just be certain people, or they always have a function and it's the same. On one hand, people that you always see, and then they'd be like, "Well, I told you about it, but in the reality, you told me maybe after." Or somebody might have threw it out there, but you didn't technically say, hey, come through, or bring your friend or whatever. So I'll probably say race.
Wow. Thank you guys for sharing. It's two different dynamics in the same relationship. So next up, I'm going to put Vonda on the hot seat or Smack.
Well, I'm sorry y'all getting this fuzziness, but that's what it is for tonight. I'm chilling. I'm gonna say back when I first came out, some many years ago, I'm gonna say on my mom's side of the family, no. I could not bring that around my mother's side of the family. My father's side, we partying, they embracing. You just like, you family, basically. They didn't care. Now in today's time, it's not like that on my mom's side or my dad's side. It's all love. So I
Thank you.
feel embraced in this
You feel
current
embraced
embrace.
in this current moment. Okay. Thank you. I'm going to put Stan in the hot seat now.
No, never felt erased and always felt embraced. So that's it. Yeah. My family, hey, I'm invited to something, however I come, that's it. It's always been embraced, and they always never made me feel erased at all. Never.
Wow. Great. Thank you, Stan. All right. Let's bring on Tim in the hot seat. And then next we have Kalani.
I'm gonna say that I experienced both. Um, in the beginning, like when my family first found out, I wasn't really invited to a lot of things. People were having a hard time dealing with it because it just wasn't the general way of, how we were brought up. I mean, but over time, two things started happening. Number one, I got used to the family circle that I had made for myself here in Philadelphia, and also with my family, as the elders passed away, people, everybody stopped getting together like they used to. So a lot of the events that I would have been invited to, we simply don't do anymore. You know, not as a whole. Everybody's just kind of branched off. So I'm gonna say both. In the beginning, like the first 10 years after I was outed, yes, my family was very, they would conversate, but I wasn't invited to anything. I would find out about get-togethers through other people. You know,
Thank you, Tim. So we have a new panelist, Kalani. You're in the hot seat. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thanks for having me. Nice to meet everybody. Finally, I knew Andre, but nice to meet everybody. And I knew Vonda. But I guess for me, I've had the, like Tim said, the twofold experience. When I got married in 2012 to a man, and my grandfather put him out of his house on Thanksgiving. Told him he wasn't welcomed in his home. But through time, because if you know my family, they're really church people, and the background is interesting. But he put him out for Thanksgiving, and I kind of felt some type of way. Everybody did, and they ended up leaving. But he ended up coming around. Um, he's no longer with us, but the family has been supportive. They've been there. Um, and now the guy that I'm with now, they asked for him before they asked for me. So I guess that's a win, I guess.
Thank you, Kalani. See, that's amazing. That sounds, everybody seems like your families has stepped into 2025. For me, my family, I mean, Vonda and I are partners, and they embraced her wholeheartedly. They probably liked her more than they like me. So, and some of them, but I'm happy to hear that. I was expecting to hear something different, but we all have different experiences, so I'm happy. Okay, so the next question is, when the celebration centers on you and your partner. So this will be in a situation where you're having it. It's something that you're throwing. It's something it's about you and your significant other. Do your biological family and friends hesitate to attend? If so, do they offer excuses or avoid the event altogether when it's centered on you and your partner? I'm going to put him on the hot seat first.
um, first things first. It's been a very long time since I've been in a relationship, but my family in Pennsylvania are accepting. I mean, it's. I'm not gonna say it's normal in our family, but there's enough of us. There's enough of us in the family that it's not like nobody's nose is turned up, nobody frowns. My family in Maryland, the complete opposite. The complete opposite.
Wow. Okay. So next up, thank you, Tim. I'm going to bring Vonda on.
Well,
When it's about us, how does your family behave? Do they
well,
attend events put on by us?
they show up and they bring stuff and they celebrate and they walk. My brother Howard, he just like stepped in like it was his home. You know what I mean? And when can I come back? And my brother, both of my brothers, they when I talk to them, I feel like they're more concerned how you are than me sometimes, and they call you sis. Where's my sister? So, and my mother, every phone call or like today, I visited her, and she asked how you were doing and what you were doing, and and then my dad the other day, and I'm like, Dad, I'm calling to speak to you. You know what I mean? Like, so I don't have, you and I have been in a relationship going on almost 8 years. I haven't, it's been great with family. So when we have something here and we invite them, if they can make it, they're going to be here, even though they don't live in the same state. One's in Florida, one's in lower Delaware, one's in North Carolina. But, they showed up and showed out for that surprise, birthday you did, and I didn't even know what was going on.
Thank you, Smack. Look like you about to like a ghost, right, y'all? Don't she look like a ghost? I'm about to put Kalani in the hot seat.
It's funny. um, my family, they are in love with him. I keep saying we're together. We're not together, but whatever. Um, but they love him. They ask for him more than they ask for me. They come to our events when we have them. I'm not really an event person anymore, but they show up. They bring things. They support. They're not coming with bad energy because some people show up just to say that they came, but then they come with a strange energy. But yeah, I think everything's good. If it's not, I'll get them together.
I know that's right. Next up in the hot seat is Andre and Zay.
You want to go first on
I don't know. I'll probably just say it's like half and half. It depends. Because, like, you got them few that actually be willing to come to everything that you throw. And then you got the few that be like, they say they're going to come, but then when the time comes, it's like, oh, actually, I had something else to do. So I'll make it to your next thing. And then that thing rolls around, and it's like, actually, you just don't want to come to anything. So I just, don't put it out there anymore.
Right.
that? My people love gathering, so I'm more of who do I want to invite from my family
Oh,
because it depends on what we're doing. Like if it's a game night, then I already know I'm going to invite my cousins because we all turn up together. And the games that like my board games, I created a couple of them, so I already know the older saints ain't going to be able to handle what we do. Um, you know, if it's like our housewarming, I invited everybody, so everybody had a chance to that didn't meet him had a chance to meet him. But then we had a chance to have both our families together for those who showed, and that was another great thing. So it kind of we just trying to weed out who if we when we get to the aisle who going to actually show up to the wedding, who we not going to invite. That's all.
Stan, you up next in the hot seat. Are you on mute? Wait a minute. Let me take you off mute. Oh,
I'm off.
you're off. So when you have an event,
Mm-hmm.
you personally, you and your partner, does your family show up? Do they hesitate to come? Or do they just avoid the event? Just we're not coming. How is it for you?
Oh, they show up. They do. And like I say, a lot of people go through a lot. They're raised a lot different with and how everybody deals with situations, and I respect everybody's situation. But I never ever put any. Sometimes it's how you carry yourself around people. You know, um, I never wear titles on me, or never wear anything on me. I'm just Stan. You know what I mean? And my girlfriend's trans, and that's accepted. So, I mean, the whole thing is you when you come to things I do, this is what you get. And if you don't, that's fine too. I don't explain myself to anybody. I don't do that. Even like I said with family. So my family, when we do something, they come because they know it's gonna be a down event. They know we're gonna have fun, and who regardless who I'm with. Um, so yeah, so it's always like that, and it's just how you bring it, to people. But I'm not gonna explain myself to people, and when you come to my house. One time we had an event, and we actually did some makeup for a fashion show, and she brought some of the models from the fashion show to the house, and one of the guys was totally homophobic, and he came in and he saw like, hey, I'm not for this, and that's fine, bro, you didn't have to come here. That was the whole thing. You didn't have to show up. And I'm not going to try to accommodate you. This is it. This is my home. This is, so my thing is I don't explain it. Hey, this is it, so I don't have those issues. I don't deal with that. I've lived too long to have to explain myself to anybody.
I know that's right.
You know what I'm
Thank
saying?
you, Stead. Thank you. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. So Vonda done shared our experience. We don't have those issues. My family is, I think they love LGBTQ children more than they love straight children. I think they really do. They accept even my friends. It's like pushing me out the way. Oh,
Right.
Delacroix is here. Oh, it's like, oh, well, y'all, I'm not the gay one that you like. He was the. So the next question, and if again, I've told y'all on several shows, if you don't want to answer a question, that is fine. This is a safe space. So when you're at these family gatherings, right? You know how to get to reminiscing, talking about your childhood. Do they ever skip over your childhood or steer away from certain parts of it? Or because of the LGBT identity, or because you're trans attracted, do they try to hide those pieces of your childhood? I think I'm going to bring up Tim. Tim, you in a hot seat.
Well, no, I never experienced too much of that. Um, well, I mean, I left home when I was 17, so no, I can't say I really experienced a lot of that. I was always one of the kids that they was always talking about, um, because I was always into something, and I've always been unique. Like the stuff I did, I was the only grandchild, niece, nephew, cousin that was doing those things. So no, I didn't experience that.
Okay. I'm going to bring Kalani into the hot seat next. How was your experience?
Um, well, see, I'm the oldest grandchild, so I have the memories. I have everybody else's memories. But as it relates to my memories, they don't shy away from anything because nothing is off limits for me because I know where I came from. Where I came from is how I got to where I am now. So I don't kind of shy away from that. I don't mind talking about it because it was a part of my life and a part of where I am now. So no, they don't. We still laugh about stuff. There's some stuff I'm not too proud of, but yeah.
Thank you. I'm going to put Andre and Zay in the hot seat.
The question.
I don't remember even what it was, but no.
So the question was, when you have these gatherings, do your family members hide your childhood based off
Yeah.
of your
No,
identity or you
they
being
like
trans attracted?
my family like to tell everything, and then some things they like to be like real extra with, and I'm like chill because I didn't even say nothing about that part of my life, or he don't know about that part, And they'd be like, oh, but it's so like it's you though. And I'd be like, yeah, but some things are just meant to keep back there, not to bring forward, you know. But it'd be okay for the most part.
Okay. What about
What
you,
just happened?
Andre?
Um, I mean, my family still calls me my childhood name. Because for some odd reason they love my middle name, which I can't stand. Henceforth from why I deleted it. But it's okay, let me say I like the French version of my middle name, not the Italian version. But it's we don't we still reminisce, I think all of us, grew up late 80s, early 90s, so we all enjoyed our time. And we've done so much together, because we're such like a super tight family. We've done everything so much together that we just remember wins come up quick. So we don't really hide our childhoods or anything like that. A couple things might pop out that I'll be like, wait a minute, but it's all good.
Okay. I'm gonna bring up Vonda. You're in the hot seat.
Yeah, so yeah, I get brought, childhood, teenage things, you know, yeah, some you don't want because you're not no longer that person. But I love when they bring out when I was in the wrestling and I drop kicked that girl in her jaw practicing on her
Oh my God.
in school. My mama talk about it sometime, but I don't like when she talk about the part where told the principal to give me a spanking, and then I got one when I got home too. I went to Prince Street Elementary, and our drop kicking was in our yard, and our front yard was a wrestling. And
You
so
had a lot
Tommy
going on.
Denard was teaching us different things, and I drop kicked her because she called me the N word. That and the truth finally came out a couple years later. I was truthful to my mom while I did it. I just told my mom I was practicing wrestling, but I really drop kicked her because she called me the N word, and my mom had paid for her doctor bills.
Goodbye, Vonda. Stan, you up next.
When I see Vonda, it's like she reminds me of the Psychic Network coming with all that stuff. And you know, it's like she just comes out the clouds and stuff, and it's like voodoo. Like, yeah. But the thing is, when we would have gatherings and things, and people talk about, actually, it's really therapy for a lot of people, our family, when they get a chance to sit back and talk about our past and things, because it gives them a chance to relate to now. Oh, I understand why he's like he is, or why she's kind of like she is, and they can bring up memories, and they can talk about these things. Like mom, you can get in front of my mother, and she'll give you a whole host of things about me that I'll sit back and just say, "Hey, mom, why don't you kind of chill a little bit?" But it's kind of therapy that they can sit back and say some things because it gives them answers and to some of the things that they always want, were curious about. So when you're around people and they can bring out these stories about you, it kind of puts a closure for them, if you understand what I'm saying. You know, and I knew that from my mom, that it gave her a lot of closure to bring out these things and say all these things that was inside of her for years, and could sit back and talk about it, and it just gave her some release with it. And so sometimes I'll sit back and say, why is she saying all these things in front of, somebody I'm with? But it also lets the person that I'm with, my mother gets a chance to say, I know a whole lot more about him than you think I know. And that's a closure for a lot of our families, that when they say things and we want to shut them down and say, hey, you're saying too much. But that's them getting a chance to get some things off their chest over years. And if you understand what I'm trying to say. So,
I do.
my mother will say things to people, and I just knew it was just her way of saying, I hear you guys. You guys think you know him, but I know him better than you do. And she needed to have that. Those are feelings that somebody has to have, saying, I raised him, but I don't want anybody thinking that they know him better than I do. I put a lot in him. I invested a lot in years. And so sometimes it's therapy for people, but yeah, we have gatherings and I have people, and I can have a girlfriend there, and my mother will sit and just go forever, like, you don't know the stuff about him that I know. And girl, you ain't seen his true colors yet. Those kind of things. And I would sit and say, why are you saying these things? But it made her feel better. But I never had issues with none of it.
Okay.
Actually, it opened doors to other conversations. So, yeah.
Thank you, Stan. Well, you know what? The funniest thing I've heard for you as far as the childhood memory is when one of my family members, when I finally came out and I brought Vonda around, it said, so that's why you was shaving off your hair and your eyebrows.
Exactly.
And I'm like, oh, okay, well, I guess that was closure for them. Maybe,
Right.
she's a little weirdo. She's shaving her hair off, shaving her eyebrows off. No, it was just hot. I didn't want hair. I didn't like hair like that. So, all right. So that was the personal celebrations. And it sounds like all of us had pseudo healthy ones. Nothing too out the way, nothing negative. And I'm glad to hear that. And again, as we go along, if you're watching, we'll watch later. We all have different experiences. Just because a group of us may be L's, G's, B's, T's, that don't mean we all got the same thing. Even trans attracted, we don't all have the same walks of life. So the next couple questions are holiday celebrations, and that's just general public, and we talking about historical celebrations. And this is near and dear for me because I'm a nonprofit founder. I like to frequent spaces. I especially enjoy history. So with these questions, it just hits my heart, especially for, when it comes to Juneteenth. And the reason why we celebrate is because we were actually truly emancipated. Like, we were emancipated, but we knew at that point in Juneteenth. And when I think about the struggles of our people, I also kind of flash back and wonder what was the LGBTQ experience during slavery. What are those stories? The trans attracted stories. What was happening to us? How did we survive? All of those things didn't just happen to heterosexual people. They weren't the only ones getting raped and tortured and stuff. So I always wonder about those stories when it comes to us, right? And it's not too many times we get to hear them. So this next question. So during Black Center holidays like Juneteenth, Black History Month, and all of the things that we celebrate that supposed to make us reflect back on our ancestry, times when we reflect on struggles and the triumphs of Black people, do you feel that Black LGBTQ individuals and trans attracted people are genuinely acknowledged and included in these celebrations? Do they include us? Because we do have an experience. We were there. We've always been here. So I'm going to put Kalani on the hot seat.
I'm going to say for me, no. And the reason why I say no is because I just discovered just this in the last 2 weeks, I just discovered that there was an LGBTQ um, individual who helped Dr. King and was a part of, the movement and what he was on. I just found that out at age dot 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 this year, and I did not know that. And I'm like, if I didn't know that, and I didn't know it at the age that I am, then how many other young people didn't know? So I think sometimes we're left out um, of the story because I heard an individual say, it's not about the truth most of the time. It's just about who tells the better story that people will go with. So I think we're left out sometimes just because people can't handle the whole identity thing, the whole um, attracted thing. So we get left out because it's just more comfortable for us to accept the norm. So yeah, I'm gonna say no. That's my answer.
Thank you. Vonda, I'm gonna put you on the hot seat.
You know, I've only been. I'm gonna just keep it real. Like, nah, I don't hear about those before me back in that time, like at Juneteenth celebrations, even founders' days of different organizations. When I know now, you know, because of Peachy and T Show, Peach Radio, how you educated us. And it really never dawned on me to think about those before me. I mean, most of us know about Stonewall, you know what I'm saying? But this has always been around and people don't talk about it. I've learned so much from my other half about my community back then. And today, no, they do not talk about it. But I gotta say this, I am starting to peep around Pride time that people are starting, not many, starting to do it, but I only knew of one person that was doing it in my state, which is Delaware. So I will say that. But before, no, we were not celebrated. And I feel as though 1 month is not enough because I celebrate me every day.
Thank you, Smack. I'm gonna put Andre and Zay in the hot seat.
Um,
I don't say it's celebrated enough. I feel like when it comes to the holidays, it's like mainly focused on the non-LGBTQ community, or like for instance, like when it comes to somebody did something and everybody knows their name, but it's always the people who are straight. There's not too many where they be like, hey, well, this one was this, that, or whatever, and this is what they did to make a different impact on the world or everybody's life. And then like she was saying, when it came to the whole 1 month of a celebration, that's like, wow, you only got 30 days out of 365 days to celebrate us, but those people be the ones who actually be out there making a change. It don't really always be the non community.
Right.
I mean, same for me. I feel like LGBTQ is celebrated as much as Black people. Like, if we just be real, they gave Black History, month, the shortest month in the year, and then I feel like a lot of things, we're in a society where they're like, let's just give them something so they can be quiet, not realizing that it won't make you really quiet, it'll make you talk more. But because we're not educated in this society, I also feel like it's our job to educate people on why we're 365 Black and 365 LGBTQ. Um, and we're here to either, so you can either accept us or you can not deal with us. And it took me a while to be okay with really just saying, accept me or leave me alone. Um, but I had to do my own education also. But if we look at the number of lies that were told from the White House to the church, um, it is what it is. We deal with ignorant people, and unfortunately, our people perish for the lack of knowledge. So,
Thank you. I'm going to put Tim in the hot seat.
First things first, I wanted to address the comments that you were making about our ancestors or the LGBTQ people that came before us. When I first came out, a majority of the people around me were older. So they would tell me stories about different experiences they had. I had a friend Dewey that talked about how a straight guy lured him into the woods and taunted him and beat him and then raped him violently because he wanted to be gay. Um, you know, people that were lured to different places and attacked, gay bashed, as you will. So me personally, I didn't experience those things, but I came out around older gays that had experienced those things. Like they couldn't live out loud like we can. They would get attacked. They would get beaten by not like one or two people, but by like groups of people. So the freedoms that we have, I don't think people really value them as much as they would if they had been in contact with people who lived during those times where it was absolutely not safe to be gay in public. Um, what did repeat the general question for me again, so that I answer it like on point.
The general question is during celebrations, like just within organizational or like Juneteenth, Black History Month, those
So
holidays that
so
supposed to
so black
celebrate
so,
our ancestry, y'all black people.
so
When we
black
talk about
organizations
the
and black holidays.
just in general, when you go and you support these things, do you see yourself reflected or acknowledged in these celebrations like the LGBT trailblazers or any of our struggles
Okay.
and triumphs?
Okay. So no, I don't see anybody representing our community, but I don't see anybody representing the handicapped community. I don't see anybody representing the animal lovers community. So the point that I'm trying to make is we have to fight so hard just to get these days of acknowledgement and these national holidays for us that just to fight for them, they don't get a chance to say, okay, we're gonna get this holiday and we're gonna get this acknowledgement and we're going to acknowledge all of the Latinos. We're gonna acknowledge all the LGBTQs. We're gonna acknowledge all of the disabled. We're gonna do this. They just fighting just to get the holidays for us, just to get the recognition for us, just to get the respect from the government for national holidays for us. So no, I don't see a lot of us being included, but I don't think it's depending on what area of the country you're in. Um, I don't think it's intentional. I think that they're just fighting for just the holiday. They don't have time to break it down into categories of people. They're just fighting for all people. But in the end, we do get slighted. We get slighted with everything, especially in our community.
Thank you, Tim. I'm going to put Stan in the hot seat.
I agree with what Tim was saying, totally. You know, it's those are celebrations, but um, those are general celebrations that I mean it's we do Juneteenth, but do we talk about lesbian liberation? Gay liberation. It's just a general celebration. When I think about things about back in those days, about in slavery, about gay slaves, and things like that. I'm sure that those things are going on. You know, it's just something that wasn't brought and talked about. But going back to what Tim said, I pretty much got the same answer Tim was talking about. Yeah, we do get shortchanged in it, but then again, it's you got Juneteenth, but then where do you throw the LGBT community into it? And then we go back in history. We got to dig. And back then you didn't have people celebrating being gay as a slave. It wasn't brought up and talked about. But I'm sure they were there. So, like I said, when you have celebrations like Juneteenth and certain things, it's just what it is, and that's why we created gay pride, trans pride. That's why we created these things. We had all kind of things going. That's why we got Black, the Black History Month. Which you got that month of Black History, which I kind of find kind of funny because we try to put everything into them 28 days. But we need to sit back and talk about the contributions that Black people have done, and then ask white America. If you erase Black history, what would you have? Because the majority of things that you use today was created by Black people. From the air conditioner to the burger alarms to the potato chip. It was Black made. So these are things we probably should be addressing. We should celebrate our history, but we should also celebrate our accomplishments and what our contributions were, even to white America, to say, hey, if you don't want to erase our history, then take everything that we've created and erase that too. And what do you got? And that's what we should be focusing on.
They ain't got nothing.
Right.
Nothing.
They ain't got nothing.
Oh,
I mean,
Lord.
it took
Not
some
even
Black
the
women to
baseball
bring an
cap
astronaut
you
from
wearing
outer
on your
space
head.
back. You see what I'm saying?
Yo.
Thank you, Stan. Y'all see this panel. So
See,
with
I'm the oldest
everything,
person here, so I can sit back and
Where they
I
gonna
can.
use the bathroom at?
oh Lord, let's get to the next question. Y'all talking about the
I'm
bathroom.
just saying, Black man created the toilet. Come on now.
Okay.
The burger alarm systems you got in your house was created by a Black woman. She created that.
Yes, it was. So let's get to the next question. Y'all, we can sit here all day talking about Black inventions. We'll be here all day, all night, all week. But so based off of everything you just all said about how you felt going into these celebrations and not really hearing too much about LGBTQ plus trailblazers, right? How does that affect your connection to the celebration and the community? And I'll go first because again, this is one that really bothers me, right? Kalani brought up Bayard Rustin. And for me, I understand what Tim and Stan said. Well, we're just happy to have the holiday. But I think we should be acknowledged because the civil rights movement wouldn't have been moving without us. So at that moment, I don't think we should have separate celebrations, but when it comes to Black history, when you go to talk about Dr. King, mention Bayard Rustin, he was essentially a student of him. Dr. King was a Bayard Rustin student. He wrote the civil rights movement and had to take a back seat to it so that it could occur. There was a Black man that financed the movement, and he was a gay man and never mentioned. And for me, it's a strong disconnect when I go into those spaces. It seems like you're taking half of me, but you don't want the other half of me presented. So that's how I feel. And I'm just wondering, how do you feel? I kind of stray away from Juneteenth and Black History Month because take all of me, represent all of me. Kalani, I'm going to put you in a hot seat.
I agree. I agree with you. I feel like it's like you're saying about 60% you can come in, but the rest, we don't want that. Because there's a lot of trans people who have done a lot of things for the community. They've helped women's rights and all that kind of stuff. And we get no kind of understanding of that, no kind of credit for that, because people just can't, I guess, grasp the fact of identity and sexual attraction and all of that. And I think that is the one thing that bothers me, because I'm not just trans, I'm Black. I'm not just Black, I'm trans. I'm a daughter. I'm a cousin. Like there's so many facets to me, but you want to take what you want to take instead of taking all of me. So I agree. I don't like it, and I feel displaced when I'm in those spaces because it's like you can only take a part of it. So yeah.
Thank you, Kalani. I'm going to put Tim in the hot seat. You ready, Tim?
Yeah. Could you repeat the question one more time?
Okay. So, how does it make you feel not being fully acknowledged in those spaces? Do you feel a connection to the community or to the celebration, or do you feel a disconnect? How do you feel?
To our community or the hetero community?
Attending celebrations.
I'm asking, are you asking if the disconnect is with the hetero community or the gay community?
Is the disconnect at those celebrations that are having those discussions and not sharing anything, any LGBTQ plus trailblazers or any of those people? Do
So the
you feel
disconnect.
connected to the celebration or the community? Do you feel connected?
Yes and no. Yes, because I lived the majority of my life in, I guess, a heterosexual-ish position. The disconnect because we're not focused on or acknowledged in anything. I know it sounds just like my last answer, but it's just a fact that we are the last included, the last considered, the last consulted. So yes and no.
That's a good answer. Short answer. All right. I'm going to put Vonda in the hot seat. How do you feel?
Well, let me say this, right? If I'm talking in present day, any celebration that I go to, yes, I feel connected because I'm standing in my truth. I sit on a lot of different boards for different organizations that don't represent my community. So when it's a celebration, I feel okay. I mean, I feel celebrated, yes, if that's what you're asking. I'm kind of confused. I don't have a disconnect because I'm me. Um, I think you got to give me some more. When I saw that question, I was trying to understand it, but I guess I truly don't because of who I am. When I threw parties, it wasn't just LGBTQ parties. I threw parties for everybody. I want everybody to come, When the work I do on it, and with different organizations that I belong to, I do it for everybody, not just one demographic of people. You feel what I'm saying? So to feel a disconnect, no, because of who I am as a person. Now, hold on. I can't think of one where I was the only Black person there. So yeah, I did feel a little disconnect, but they needed something from me, which is to be trained. So it did feel a little uncomfortable being the only Black person there. If that is that what you're talking about, Peirrce? I mean,
The
come in and
question is this. if you're in a space and they're talking about historical trailblazers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they don't acknowledge LGBTQ plus people within it, do you connect to that? Do you feel connected when they're having these speeches and they're not acknowledging any contributions that LGBTQ plus people have contributed?
Oh, yeah, I do feel connected, especially if it was a strong black person. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm just saying because this is in black, you know, I do feel connected. I mean, one of my favorite people I like to hear when they celebrate her is Ella J. Baker. You know, I truly feel that she was living in the closet. That's just, you know, my thing, just from everything I've read about her and how she moved, but I could be wrong. But people that I look up to, and I can only talk about Black history. Yes, we need to talk more about more uh, people from the LGBTQ community that are trailblazers. Yes, we need to do that. Um, and they need to be recognized because they had a lot to do with Black history. I don't know. That was a tough question. I probably ain't answered.
You did. I'm going to put Zay and Andre in the hot seat.
I'm over here dying.
I don't even know how to answer the question.
Like I said, it is a hard. It is a
I'm just gonna
difficult.
say I don't have anything to say on that one, but I do feel like that the people should be acknowledged more so when it comes to what Smack was saying.
Um, I mean, I don't feel. I feel like, if we're honoring African Americans, then I can celebrate. If we're honoring LGBTQ, I can celebrate. I don't allow one to define me over the other. I'm black, and I'm LGBTQ, and I'm good. So either way, like, because if you look at some of the honors that I've received myself, it don't matter how it works. You're honoring me, and so either my black people either going to stand up and salute because I'm being honored, or the LGBTQ crowd's going to stand up and salute because I'm being honored, or they both going to stand up and salute because either way they can identify themselves through me. And so I have to look at it the same way. I identify myself through the person that's being honored. So you have to celebrate.
Okay. Let's get Stan on. You on a hot seat.
Couple things. It's there's a time and a place for things. I mean, if we're doing Black History Month, how do you insert the LGBTQ into that? We can say, hey, why don't we just have an Black LGBTQ History Month? There's a guy right here in Atlanta that does this every year called, the Gay Black History, and he does this every year. The thing is, people are not interested in it. And he does the whole documentary, the history of Black LGBTQ people and the contributions they make. And he does it, but we don't accept it. So we can't put that on the people saying, that, the mainstream America ain't accepting it when we're not doing it. And he does this every year with Black LGBTQ, lesbians, gay, trans, and it goes nowhere. It becomes a talking point when we sit back and talk about things, and that's what we're good at. That we're good at always saying that we're underrepresented. But why do we have to have people to do that for us, or justify us? We should be doing it, and we the ones that need to insert this in there. We can't sit back and wait for somebody to do it, And like I say, the guy that does this every year here, right here, I'm not gonna bring his name up, but he does it every year. He does a documentary with it. Um, he has Black LGBT history, but we don't deal with it, you know. So, and I find it interesting that he does this every year, and I learned so much from it. But it's something that we don't accept ourselves, and then we wait on mainstream America to sit back and put his stamp on it, and then we're going to accept it. And these are things like with Juneteenth and all the things we talk about. It's up to us to insert these things in there. You know, we can't. You know, Juneteenth came about. You know, even when we had the march on Washington with Martin Luther King, that march didn't take place until we had President Kennedy put his stamp on it. You know, we had to get justified by white people to do things. So we have to do it, and that's the issue. So you know, and I'm all for it. We can all sit back and say, hey, let's go head on and let's do an LGBT Black history. I'll be the first in line. Let's do this, and let's go ahead and do it. And it ain't got to be once a year. We can do this every month, and keep this stuff in people's brains every month. What Black gay people have contributed to this country, and you do it enough to people listen and recognize it. And that's what we have to do. We can't keep, you know, it's like the Academy Awards. You know, we don't get enough Black people nominated for the Academy Awards, so we want to boycott.
Of course.
You see what I'm saying? But then why boycott? Why not have your own award? Why can't we support our own? You know, I remember y'all know a show called Soul Train?
Yeah.
Don Cornelius started that in Chicago, and I remember as a kid, and I admired him. And the whole thing Don Cornelius said was, why are we always sitting back? That's how the Soul Train Awards came about. We're always trying to get validated. So if we don't get nominated for the Academy Award, now we're going to boycott. Do you see the Latinos sitting back boycotting the Academy Awards? They got their own awards. They don't give a damn about the Academy Awards. They have their own. And then they do it with no strings attached. So when we do something like that, we get the awards. Okay, now we got the NAACP sent back. Well, now you got to sit back and, you know, we put too much shit on ourselves. We really do. And we hold ourselves back in a whole lot of ways. It's just like even with the last BET Awards with the gospel, Gorilla, she got a gospel award, and hell is breaking loose on that. You know, and this ain't white people doing this. This ain't white folks. This is us. And we got to sit back and get our own shit together. So I'm saying all that to say, you know what? We don't have to wait. Let's go ahead and inject these things. So when we do Juneteenth, let's do Juneteenth LGBT contributions. What has happened? The struggle. Because we got people not even LGBT that contribute to things in America, and they're not getting credit for it. You know, and I'm not trying to be on a soapbox, but I'm just saying, if we're going to talk about it, let's be real with it. You know, and this is what we have to do. We can't sit back and wait. And we can't wait to be validated to do anything. It's up to us to do it. Period. Okay.
Thank you, Stan.
And
I have
really
an
hate
announcement
that I
to
talk
make.
like this.
I got an announcement to make.
Okay.
This is part of my legacy. So maybe one day, you know, 30, 40 years from now, someone may bring me up. You never know, I may be in a history book. June the 23rd, 2025. Vonda Smack. And you guys are all the first to know it. I haven't even posted on social media.
So we saved that for something else.
I wanted part of my legacy. Okay. She said save it. All right.
Yeah, not a part of the save it for later.
Are we talking about history? You know, I do
No,
a
but we're
lot.
going. Yeah, we're going to save that for later. So as we go into these questions, and I think y'all pretty much answered them for me, the last one, which is should we separate the events? Have the Black Trailblazer event, like the Juneteenths and all of that. I think y'all already answered that. And or should we do it together? I personally feel like we should have it together. So I guess we should just everybody tell me separate or together. I think as a Black community, we are a whole community. It's not Black and gay. It should just be Black celebrating trailblazers, whether they're LGBTQ plus or not. Mention them, but I believe together.
But
Do
then
you
Pierce,
believe separate?
but Pierce, if you do it that way, then that's fine. But then let's not label gay LGBT. Just do it as a person or a woman. Okay, because if we're gonna make it that general, then let's make it general. Let's not label and say, hey, Stan did this, but Stan's gay. No, we're gonna do it. Make it general. Stan is just a Black man that did it. It's gonna have to be separate. It's got to be. You can't. There's no way I can see you doing it as a whole, and then you're gonna sit back and generalize. Well, Stan is a Black man that accomplished this, but by the way, he's a gay guy. You see what I'm saying? If we're gonna do
I
it,
do.
you know what I
I
mean?
do. I do understand what you're saying. Um, and I don't really like to insert my opinion, but then I'm gonna let everybody else go.
I mean, really,
Let's
it's
just
fair.
let's just keep in mind that we live in a world, right? In society, it's a heteronormative society. So when you go to say that someone did something like Martin Luther King, you don't have to say that he was straight. It's already assumed that he is. That is why you have to say this person, okay, a Bayard, a LGBT trailblazer, because the assumption is everyone, even you, before you even open your mouth. That's why it's an issue based off of whatever we are, whatever letter you are, whatever, if you're trans
But see,
attracted,
we
because
put
it's the
ourselves in
assumption.
categories already. Instead of saying, okay, Martin Luther King, just a man, we put Martin Luther King as a Black man. We're not
No, they
saying him a
say
man.
they
We
don't.
already put ourselves in categories,
It's
Pierce.
already the assumption that he's a Black heterosexual male when
See,
you
now we're
walk in
going
this
with this.
world.
You're using assumptions when we putting ourselves in categories. You see what I'm saying?
No, the
Okay.
world is set up. You are a heterosexual male, period.
Okay.
That's why you have a war. That's why there's a war on us. It's not because you are a man, it's because you are a trans attracted Black male. You can visibly see that you're Black. It's assumed that you're heterosexual.
But that doesn't define me, is what I'm
That's
saying.
you, but society,
I
you
don't care
still
about
got to
society.
function
I
it.
don't I don't care what society thinks. See, that's the problem. We're sitting back worried about society. That's why we don't I don't care what society thinks. Let's talk about just me. Society puts me in a category and they define that. Well, he's a trans track. I'm just if you didn't have put labels on trans, there would be no labels on nothing with me. So, these are things that this is another show.
Yeah, but that's not how the world works. I'm gonna
Okay.
put Kalani in the hot seat.
I hear you, Stan. I hear you.
Come on, Kalani.
I really do. I hear you. I think for me though, it would be representation
Okay.
for younger people and for people coming up. I think it's about representation and seeing yourself in history because that's a lot of what we didn't see coming up. I know for me, I didn't see a lot of trans people in history books. I saw none actually until I got older, and started realizing some of the things that we had contributed. So I think for me, it's about seeing yourself in history and not just knowing that you're Black, but there was somebody exactly like you that has contributed to this history. So I'm understanding you saying separated, and if you're going to label and all that, but I think putting it together kind of separates the fact that we cause all that division, because we're already divided. I think we should bring it together, but I think people should be represented as who they are completely, like 100%.
Yeah, I understand.
All right, let's put Vonda. Well, actually, let's go with Zay and them. You're in the hot seat. Together or separate?
Go ahead.
Together or separate? I think together. But
Okay.
I would say together, but I kind of like in a portion of me agrees with how Stan was wording it, but the bigger portion overrules that I think together, because like if it's separate, and yeah, if it's separate, it's like it's going to be labeled, but like you were saying, it's labeled already because of what we identify as. But I feel like it'd be more people open to getting to know and actually understanding where we come from if it's more so put together without the label, because they're already going
Okay.
to judge him like, oh, because someone of the community is doing it, let's go just to see what it's about, let's go to see how it'll be. But are they really there for the right reasons, or they're there just to be like, I'm gonna point the finger and say, hey, I told you so, or whatever.
Okay.
Um, I believe do it together, but it's okay to keep it's okay to keep the labels. I think it's important in today's society that we understand that this person was able to achieve such a big accomplishment, and they did it while they're Black and gay. I do feel that if we don't do that, then what are we teaching our next generation? That is, and that's everything I do. I ask the question, what is my next generation learning from this? And so if I'm going to be okay with being Black but not being okay with being gay publicly, then our young people are not learning that. We're not teaching them morals, we're not teaching them self-esteem, we're not, we're failing our job. And unfortunately, in today's society, the young LGBTQ suicide rate will not go down until we teach them that it's okay to be young and gay, and that they can still accomplish everything that they've been put on this earth to do.
Thank you. All right. So, Vonda, you in the hot seat. Together or separate?
Can you repeat the question?
The question is, should we have these celebrations talking about trailblazers? Should it be two separate events? Should it be a LGBT and a straight Black event, or should it be all together with everybody learning?
I think together. It
Okay.
needs to be together. People need to be educated. They're so misinformed in our community, and misinformed in the heterosexual community. You feel what I'm saying? So that's why I say together. Be educated together.
Okay. Thank you. All
Yeah.
right. So, Tim, it's time for you to come in the hot seat. Together or separate?
Well, I think it's definitely something that needs to be done together. Separated, we're not going to be exposed to their feelings and point of views and realities, and vice versa. They're not going to be exposed to ours. Whereas, to if we're all in the same room, people such as ourselves um, are a part of the floor to educate them and answer questions and tear down walls of ignorance that have been passed from generation to generation. And I think that's the only way that that is going to happen is if we are all in the same room. can't be done separately.
Thank you. All right. So we got through that rocky road of organization. I don't even know if I want to ask y'all about representation in black organizations, because I think we already got it. We already all feel that we aren't represented in these black spaces, is underrepresented. Maybe we'll come back at the end and talk about solutions for that. But we're going to go into the resistance piece. This is in your marches and all of those things, right? Can y'all all just flash back to George Floyd for a moment? Do y'all remember any of the things that happened during that time?
Yes.
Put yourself in that space. So, and we're going to talk about in resistance. So, the next question is: do you feel comfortable stepping into a advocacy role in the black community, for the black community, just speaking on it and giving your identity or attraction? Would you feel comfortable incorporating black LGBTQ issues as a black advocate? Vonda, you will be an expert, and I'm going to put you in the hot seat first.
How did I know you was going to do that? I feel very comfortable. I currently do it, and it feels very, very good, empowering. I'm accepted, and what's that noise?
I got it. Go ahead. Go
Okay.
ahead.
And I feel as though, thinking back to that George Floyd, what a terrible time that was. And the advocacy, I remember being at my job, I do the advocacy and activism on the side, and I had a little retail job as a manager. And I think about watching those people march up that highway and how bad I wanted to just be a part of it, but I had other responsibilities. But then when I found out they were doing it the next day on my day off, I just jumped in, and being able to use the tools that I learned, and being able to apply it to make it stronger, met everything. So I feel very good. I do it today. That's my full-time job. I don't have a problem getting into spaces advocating for my people, and I will
Okay.
do it till I die.
So, just to broaden, can you hear? Just to broaden the scope of it, Vonda actually goes out and speaks for is it probation reform, correct?
I do that right now. My bill is going to House Appropriations tomorrow. The bill I've been advocating for 3.5 years with my job, it actually goes to the House Appropriations tomorrow. It is a start in the right direction towards probation reform. It has really, here in Delaware, it is, we have a high recidivism rate, and majority is from our black community. And I'm trying to make a change in that. So we may have a good bill coming through here soon that's truly going to give people a second chance. Thank you.
Okay, so with that, now when we talk about the advocacy piece of it, because of the question, did you incorporate LGBTQ people? Like when you got lived, when you had to get the what is it, the live experience? Did you reach out to the LGBT community to incorporate them so they can speak on behalf of us and their experiences?
So yeah, I did. Through my advocacy going up and down the whole state of Delaware, I came across many people who were LGBTQ, but I got their stories. I had one-on-ones with them, but when it came time to share that lived experience, because some of their stories were just, you know, they really touched the heart. And I felt like, you know, legislators needed to hear these stories. They were scared to come forward and share those stories. So when I talked about them on my own, when I'm out here advocating and really trying to, you know, give public comment, couldn't mention her name. I just mentioned the situation that I met someone along the way in the state of Delaware who shared a story with me, and this is the story. And then, you know, because I want other people to feel it, especially legislators, to show you that we need change. But I will tell you that majority of the LGBTQIA community did not want to share their story publicly. And they didn't mind if I use a scenario, but did not directly told me don't use their name or where they live.
Thank you, Vonda. Um, I'm going to bring Kalani on to answer the question.
Repeat the question, please.
If you had to step into an advocate role for the Black community, would you be comfortable with inserting LGBT issues into it?
Comfortable? Probably not. And I say that because it's a dangerous world we're living in, as it relates to trans people. You did mention the George Floyd incident where one of our sisters was attacked in the middle of something that was supposed to be positive. So it's dangerous. So I personally probably would not. I could probably do it from behind the scenes, but to put myself in a predicament that could be fatal, I just don't know if I'm prepared to do that yet.
Thank you. Zay and Andre, you're in the hot seat. If you became an advocate for the Black community, would you feel comfortable incorporating LGBTQ plus issues?
Yeah.
That's it.
Mhm.
Definitely, I'm an advocate now for the Black community here in Wilmington. I'm actually trying to stand on a different ground now because I just moved to a whole different part of Wilmington where there is not a lot of African American representation in this area. Um, but being someone who advocates now, it wouldn't be a problem with me to incorporate the LGBTQ issues because I feel like if we continue to stay silent, then they'll never learn. If our job is to educate as an advocate, we can't keep silent. And so I feel like, you know, they're going to attack, people are going to try to attack somebody that's different regardless. That's why I was real vocal even with Black Lives Matter. I said, how can Black Lives Matter if we keep taking our own people up out of here? And
Okay.
so I stand on that. And so it's the same for me with any life. If any life is going to matter, somebody has to be educated on why that life is important.
Thank you. Dan, you in the hot seat. If you were to become an advocate for the Black community, would you feel comfortable inserting LGBTQ plus and trans attracted issues into your advocacy work? You on mute. Unmute yourself.
I'm sorry about that. Yeah, I do that now. So there's no issue with that. I do that right now. I'll be in New York this whole weekend advocating with the trans community. Breathing Wild Black and Trans. I'll be at all the events. I'm participating in them, in all of them. So
Yes.
I'll be in New York. I was actually going to see if I can shoot down for the brunch in Delaware. I'm going to see if I can work that in there.
Okay.
But that's what I'm doing in New York. So I've been an advocate for that. I'm invited to these things because I'm a role model for men. It's okay to date trans women. So as far as me incorporating it, it's a no-brainer. That's what I do. So yeah. And
Thank
but
you, Stan. Tim, you in a hot seat.
Okay. Um, I would have no problem doing it. In all actuality, uh, I've been doing it in the community for a long time. Within the last 10 or 15 years, I've fallen back from the community for different reasons. But in the 90s, the late 90s, early 2000s, uh, Philadelphia developed a transgender community conference. And I was included in that conference for the first 3 years. The first year, I was the only non transgender that was involved. And I was an entertainer, as well as I did spots within the video of the conference, just advocating for transgender rights, just letting people know that they're people just like everybody else. They deserve the same opportunities. They deserve the same peace. I also did benefit shows for Mana in Philadelphia in my early career entertaining. So I have no problem stepping up and being up front. And even though I'm not a member of the transgender community, a lot of my friends and coworkers are trans. And a lot of people have marched for trans. A lot of people have stood behind microphones for trans. I've actually been in the streets fist fighting to protect my trans sisters and brothers. I've actually walked up into people's homes and did reckless things to protect my trans brothers and sisters. So I have no problem at all stepping up to the forefront because they deserve quality of life just like anybody else.
Thank you, Tim. So I'm going to answer the question now. So in Delaware, I am known as the loudmouth, the LGBT, the gay, probably the N word black loudmouth. And I have absolutely zero problem stepping into black spaces and reminding them of the things that LGBTQ plus people need, where we're being left out, and what you're going to do about it. I won't say it here what organizations. I've created committees within organizations for us so that we can have a say. Didn't necessarily get the support, but I'm happy that I stepped into those spaces. So, yes, I feel like if you're LGBTQ and you are an advocate in a black space, make sure you incorporate your brothers and sisters' struggle. Okay? Incorporate it. I don't care what it is because we have a story. So, like with Vonda, probation reform. Gay people go through probation reform. We go through that, right? So our story needs to be told. If you're fighting for reproductive rights, well, tell our stories, incorporate us there. That's how you do that. Don't let them forget us. So the next question, and I know y'all like, oh my God, these are such, they're not fun questions, but you know what? People need to hear this. They need to know how we feel in all
Right.
situations, not just sexual situations where homophobes like to place us. They think it's just some type of sexual thing we got going on. That's why they're like that. But that is not even the reason. That's just who we are. Our attraction is just as normal as yours. Our identities are as normal as yours. We're allowed to have them. So this one here, this question, And every time I flash back to the George Floyd situation, it just makes me sick on the stomach. Vonda will tell you when I saw it on the news, I just lost it. During the protests, we saw an incident where a Black trans woman was attacked right in the middle of a movement that was supposed to be about justice for all Black lives. So, my question, do you feel safe participating in Black led rallies and protests? Um, and if you feel safe, or if you don't feel safe, do you worry about your community members, the LGBTQ plus? Do you worry the trans attracted people? Are you worried about these people? Um, I'm going to put Tim in the hot seat.
I think you have to be selective. You have to know where you're going. Um, there are certain places that I would feel less comfortable knowing that some of my trans brothers and sisters or my queer brothers and sisters are going to, because it will make them an immediate target. There are other places that they could go and they will be tolerated. And notice the choice of word that I use, tolerated. I think part of survival as a trans individual is being smart and knowing what you're walking into. A lot of people feel like because they have the rights, that their rights won't be violated. And that's not reality. There's a lot of ignorance out here. And a part of having a safe life and longevity is making good decisions, especially if you are someone who stands out. That's almost a guarantee that you are going to be a target. Because of the fact that I blend into heterosexual society, not because I try, it's just because of who I am normally. Most places I blend in, and I'm a very observant person. When people don't know you're gay, they do and say things in front of you that they normally wouldn't do or say openly, or definitely in the presence of gay people. So I've gotten a chance to really stand back and see how people work. And I've seen times where people thought they were in safe situations when they were actually surrounded by people who had no good intentions for them. So it's you got to know where you got to go know where you're going. Don't walk into places without doing your research. Find out about the crimes that happen in that area if it's someplace that you are familiar with, that you're not familiar with, because some people walk into the wrong time in the wrong place. And there shouldn't be a wrong time and a wrong place just because you're gay. But the reality of the time that we're living in, you have to be very selective about where you choose to show up.
Thank you, Tim. Ooh, let's put Vonda in the hot seat.
I'm different. I'm a little different. Here in Delaware, I feel comfortable pulling up to any protest. I'm not gonna go to no riots. You know what I'm saying? I'll go to any peaceful protest. But in this world of mine that I live in, I go hard. And when you're passionate about something and you 10 toes down, you're gonna go. I've been at protests all over this country and been invited. And so that's why I'm part of coalition and groups and get to know people so that I know that people got my back while I'm there. So if I'm invited to Ohio, I'm not going to go alone and not know anybody. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to be there with a group of people who share the same interests. And we're going to be there to protect each other and have each other's back. And like Tim said, you have to be observant. I always sit in the car and look before I get out. I got to check the atmosphere and the energy. And if neither one of those are right, I will not get out. You know, this is how I am. I've been at plenty of marches since I was 18. And, you know, you got, like Tim said, you got to be observant. But I'm never going to go to a protest alone, especially one where in a town where I don't know nobody. I got to organize and get to know people. That's why I say it's really good to get and be a part of, you know, find your people, as Ella J. Baker said, and build your coalition of friends that got shared views as you do, so that when something like that comes up, you can go there and you got their back and they got your back. So I try to go at least with 4 or 5 people if it's something I've never been to.
Thank you, Smack. I'm gonna put Zay and Andre on the hot seat.
I think everything's been said eloquently by Tillman and by Smack. You know, be knowledgeable, educate yourself first, have the knowledge that you need to know about where you're going, and then make your impact. And don't travel alone. Like the Smack hit it on the head. You know, never travel alone. You know, we have to be cautious at what we do. Um, you know, I personally feel like a lot of the George Floyd situations were a rally. They weren't. They were riots. They weren't rallies. And I feel like we never. And what made me upset about a lot of the situations that we never did our due justice before we did something. We just did it, especially here in Delaware. Um, and so I feel that we have to be knowledgeable about what we're doing and ask ourselves what are we getting out of this, as far as what impact are we making, what story are we telling? Are we telling the story that all lives matter, or Black lives matter, or are we telling the story that if you do something we don't like, we can tear our city up? You know, so able to understand why we're doing it, and then do it knowing that we're doing it with a purpose.
Thank you, guys. I guess I'm gonna put Kalani on the hot seat with this one.
Safe. I feel safe kind of anywhere that I go, I think. But as it relates to like a rally or something like that, because of the George Floyd thing, you have to be cautious and mindful of your surroundings. Just like everybody said, you got to know, be on your P's and Q's and stay ready so you ain't never got to get ready. Um, so that's my take on it. But I also think that the reality is that as ready as you can be, you just never know. You can feel safe in an instant. Things can change. Um, so I don't know. It would depend on, like Fonda said, the atmosphere and the climate. When you get before you even get out the car, you gotta really go in yourself and really understand what's about to happen, what could happen, and kind of weigh those options before doing it, because it could all turn like so fast. So that's my take on it.
Thank you, Kalani. All right, Stan, you're up in the hot seat.
My thing is, you know, like I say, you gotta look at your situations, and you gotta assess what you're protesting. You know, so that's basically it. Yeah.
Okay.
Hey,
Thank you.
Peirrce, a peach. I want to mention. Remember when we went marching up north, and you felt something, and we left, and then that peaceful protest turned into an actual riot that Andre was just speaking about in his area. You remember that? We went up there,
Yes.
we marched, and you said we need to go. You felt something. That's that's what I was talking about, like the energy, and then how the police, black police officer, we were just trying to have a conversation with people who look like us, but because of the situation that had happened in Minnesota, is it Minneapolis, Minnesota, right? I hope I'm getting the city right. Yeah. They came at us real crazy. And I had to be like, calm down, bro. Like, yo, you can't tell me as a black man you don't feel something. But I just wanted to get back to that and remind you of that day, because that's that energy. Once that day happened and you brought me there, I have been like that ever since and added that to my tool belt. So I just want to say thank you.
So this is the last question, and then we'll wrap it up and we'll ask each other questions. So after everything we've discussed tonight with this topic, erased or embraced, we talked about being erased or embraced with our personal celebrations, holidays, these organizational things, and in resistance. Do you feel erased or embraced? For me, I feel embraced by my family, but the general public, I don't feel like I'm embraced. And to be honest, well, you know what? I'm embraced as long as I stay in stealth mode. Let's put it that way. If I don't reveal who I am, I'm embraced. Of course, I'm not embraced by the white community, but by my black community where I need the most protection and acceptance and care, I have to hide. So that is my experience. I don't feel embraced. I feel like you're only accepting half of me. Um, I'm going to go ahead and put everybody in the hot seat, and then we're going to just ask our questions of each other. I'm going to go with Tim, erased or embraced.
Erased. And you hit the nail directly on the head when you say you are accepted as long as you are invisible. That is the main reason why I keep my sexual orientation separate from my workplace, because of all of the prejudices that I seem to fall victim to after people find out. Um, it's like the heterosexual community feels like we're getting too much. Like when they turn on the TV, they see us. Some of the top shows that are out all across the world, honestly, are gay shows, drag race, fashion shows. They just feel like they're making too big of a deal out of us when there is a huge problem for black people as a whole. I'm not saying I agree with that. I'm saying those are the conversations that I hear most. People are really offended that they can't watch TV anymore without seeing gay sex scenes. And the past couple of years, you see more gay sex scenes on shows than you see heterosex sex scenes. So right now, the heterosexual community is at a rebellion because they feel like too much is becoming about us. When in all actuality, we're just taking the place in the world that we've always been. We've been behind some of the greatest inventions. We've been behind some of the greatest ideas. But just like white people used to do black people when they invented something, they take it from us, erase us, and move on with it and claim it as their own. Erased, definitely.
Thank you, Tim. I'm going to put Zay and Andre in the hot seat. Erase or embrace?
I'm gonna say embrace and erase because I feel like depending on the situation or the timing of where you're at can determine if you're embraced or erased. Because there's them situations where you come around and everyone has something to say only because you're not like them, and then you have those where it's like we're all here together, and yeah, they might not like the same thing as me, but we're all still equally human.
I'm gonna say embraced because you can't erase something that's written in permanent ink. Um, when you are 1,000% unapologetic for who you are, you're solid. And it's hard to erase something that no matter what you say or no matter what somebody says, they keep making an impact. You know, one thing I've learned about myself is a lot of the things I've done I didn't do for to be noticed. I'm a behind the scenes mover, but I also learned the power of my voice. And so if just my voice can shift the community, then my mind can shift an atmosphere. And so you can't erase what has been graced for this season. And so I feel that once we move fear out the way, then we stop looking on, am I really being embraced? Or we stop looking for who will embrace us. And we begin to look at the object that if you don't embrace me, you still got to come back to give me my kudos. And that's what gives you the embracement you're looking for. Because no matter what happens, what I've been purposed to do, it's here. I'm doing it. And I'm doing it without question. I am unapologetically Dre. And that's how I introduce myself. When people say, well, what do you classify yourself as? Baby, I'm Dre. And I'm unapologetically me. And I do it so smooth because of the simple fact that I know that this is what I've been assigned to do. Am I liked by many? Absolutely not. Am I respected by many? Absolutely not. But the same people who don't respect and the same people who don't like still got to come back and ask me, how can I do this? How can I do that? Because I have the knowledge that they need. So I possess the key to their future. You got to embrace it.
Thank you guys. Stan, hot seat.
Totally embraced. And there's no other way it can be because I'm not looking for anybody to accept me. And I don't need the validation of people to accept me. And that's part of a lot of problems because we're looking for people to validate us. I know me. I don't need any stamp of approval for me to be me and accept anything I do. So I'm totally embraced. And then part of our problem is that we sit and always want, it's like when people sit back and look at like a Tyler Perry movie and we look at all the stereotypes of things we do, we always looking for approval. And I really don't want to go into all this with it, but the thing is, we can set our own narratives with how people think about us. And we don't have to sit back and say that we have to wait on somebody to sit back and say what our narrative is. It's what we present and our confidence in what we are. And that's all that matters. So no, I'm totally embraced and I don't need validation. I don't need acceptance. Because if I sit back and try to satisfy everybody, then I'm satisfying nobody. So I got to satisfy myself. And I don't care what nobody thinks about me, is that I got a few family members, and those are the people that matter. So totally embraced. That's it. We got to set our own narratives. And we can't keep sitting back waiting for people to justify who we are. We have to embrace ourselves and show the confidence. Look what Donald Trump is doing right now. Well, the whole point is he's doing it and he don't care what nobody thinks. And he's getting away with it because he doesn't care. He's not looking for validation from nobody. And the whole point is that's what we have to be. We can't sit back saying what the world's gonna think of me or who's gonna look at me. Be you, and that's me. And I've lived so long, and I'd be damned if I'm gonna sit back and wait for somebody to validate. Like I tell my son, I've lived too long to sit back and have to have people tell me. No, I've accomplished a lot and done a lot, and we can do this. Period.
Thank you, Stan. All right, Kalani.
I think everybody hit it. Feel, I feel embraced because one of the greatest liberties in life that you could ever accomplish is knowing who you are and standing on that and being confident in that and never looking outside of yourself for somebody to validate who you are supposed to know who you are. So I feel embraced as it relates to the community as a whole. I think there could be more representation as it relates to trans, because even with the trans community, even sometimes we're erased out of the black history, but even sometimes the LGB part, they want to kind of push trans off a little bit and give us the little eye. So I think as it relates to the community, there could be more representation. But as for me personally, I know who I am. Can't nobody tell me who I am. I already know. So I'm good. I'm embraced. That's my answer.
Thank you. All right, Vonda, you up.
All right. So that was a time I felt erased in life. I'm gonna be all the way real. I'm from Salisbury, Maryland, and being, lesbian woman, even a gay man. This is not something that was accepted. Um, and Dover was a place I came to be me, to feel free. Then I have to go back to Salisbury and be somebody, hide behind who I truly am. But into this day, 2025, I feel embraced. I can walk in any room, head high. You know what I'm saying? Because I know who I am. I don't care if they accept me or not. In most rooms I walk in, it's all love, you know. Sometimes I get nervous in the work that I do, walking into a room where I'm the only black person can be a little uncomfortable, but it's not until I open my mouth, and I got something that you need. You feel what I'm saying? And then that you see that I'm just a normal person that got some lived experiences, that's done some things that you're just about to do. So I do feel embraced. And, it took some time to get there. I'm not going to lie. But I did feel a little erased in my early years coming out in the 80s in the city that I lived in. Um, but I truly feel embraced, even in the personal things that I like to do with the indie music, the magazine that I'm an editor for. I truly feel embraced. I am somebody just because I'm black, lesbian, you know what I mean? As AF, people are starting to come around. And when you love yourself, in which P, babe, it took me a while to get there because of things that happened earlier when I came out as a lesbian. It took a while for me to love the skin I'm in, to love me. And when you get to that point, you're going to feel embraced. Because as soon as somebody got a problem, all you got to do is wrap your arms around your own body, embrace yourself. So, yeah, chill.
All right, so we into the stage of questions that we have for one another. Anybody have any
I
questions?
got a question for you.
No questions.
Oh Lord.
What is the one thing that makes you feel erased? The one strong thing.
For me, it's not necessarily a self-esteem thing because I am good with who I am. The erase part comes from knowing I love history. And I feel like when you know about yourself fully, it makes you more stronger. And when other people learn more about your story, it makes them respect you and respect your contributions. And the erasure part for me is not incorporating us into the Black community. That's what it is. It irks my soul every Black History Month. I'm seeing all of these trailblazers, but I'm not seeing the ones that's completely relatable to my community. I don't like that gay LGBT girls and boys are coming out hating themselves or feeling like they don't belong. When, baby, you belong. You have given this world so much of yourself, and this world has not even given you 10%. And that bothers me. That is the erasure piece. That's why I always, you know me, I'm always screaming at the top of my lungs. Even when you come in and you say, well, I did this, I did that. And I ask you, you know, did you incorporate us? Put us in these spaces. Don't just get in them and and forget pieces of yourself. And that's the erasure part. I don't like it. I don't like not seeing us the same way I see heterosexual people. We should be in the same spaces. We should be celebrated the same way. Um, but no, the erasure part has nothing to do with me and how I feel about myself.
Okay,
It's about how
gotcha.
I feel about the community and what we deserve.
Right.
Well, Pierce, you got to understand one thing, and it's something that I touched on earlier. You don't when you see us in history, we're there, but because of the fact that we had to be in hiding, we're not acknowledged because it wasn't safe for us to be out. So there are a large percentage of those inventors and everything that you see that are represented and spoke on and displayed during Black History Month that were indeed gay. Langston Hughes was gay, and he documented a lot of things. There was even a movie that came out, and it was about Langston Hughes's life, and I'm trying to remember the name of it. And Langston wrote it, so the things that are in it are like facts. And if I can remember the name of it, I'm going to put it in the group so that y'all can all check it out. And it really shows you exactly what it was like in the 40s, 50s, and 60s being gay, and how it was life threatening. Like in these other countries where they murder you for being gay, it was very much like that in the United States not too long ago. So you could get murdered for being Black, and you could get murdered for being a gay. It's a double whammy. So that's why you don't see a lot of us represented in history, because it wasn't safe for us to acknowledge that that's who we were.
Thank you, Tim. And
And
yeah,
you
I
all the
know that.
culture.
So just to let everybody know that's watching, will watch later. I Am Me has the history blog every month. It's the first Mondays of the month, written by yours truly. I go find these people, the LGBTQ plus trailblazers, and I write a blog so you'll know your history. And I want you to share it on your pages, share it with into groups, share it with the LGBTQ plus child, adult, that anybody you think will benefit from it. Hell, share it with the homophobe. But does anyone else have a question for anybody else on the panel?
Nah, I just want to say we the culture for real. And when I say that, we create the culture, and I need people to know that, especially our Black people who like to put down our community. Sometimes you need to look around the waist of that fashion belt that you're wearing, because we created the culture. Sometimes I need you to look at that hat, that brim, that whole outfit that you put together. And let me start. And your favorite rapper, the label that he's on, we created that culture. And that, thank you. Just thank you for letting me get that out. We I could go on for days. I'm just gonna stop there.
And everyone's favorite. They love the 1920s, the Harlem Renaissance. That's all gay.
Yes.
So
And the movie that I'm referring to by Langston Hughes is set during the Renaissance era. I'm trying to find it. It's not just gay men, it's gay women too. So you get to see what the women were going through as lesbians, as well as what the guys were going through as gay men. I'm trying to find my other phone so I can Google it. Find
I
the
think
movie.
Andre put it in there. Dream Harlem.
Okay.
okay. So does anyone else have any final words or anything before we end this show? Words of wisdom you like to leave. How did y'all like the show in general?
Good show.
This
It
was
was thought provoking, made you think, right?
Yeah, I got a
Yeah.
headache.
It was lighter than some of the that feedback. It was lighter than some of the previous shows, but the messages hit home. The information that we needed to relay, it happened, you know. So it was a different tone than a lot of the shows, but it was still a good show.
Okay. What did everybody else think? You think we educated some people tonight and made them think?
I
Oh
think
yeah.
so.
I was just about to say, I teach during the day, and I try to come home and take off my teacher hat. And for some reason, on Tuesday nights, I can never do that because Peirrce wants everybody to be educators 24/7. Now, Peirrce, I'm gonna tell you like I tell my church folk now. I like to take hats off when I leave the facility that the hat belongs in.
Right.
I I really think during this time the conversation was needed, because people need to we bring to the table more than our gender identity. You feel what I'm saying? And they need to understand that, you know what I mean? And respect it. But I thought this conversation was great. It was very, like Grace said, you got to think and then do a little teaching in there. Well, I'm gonna say facilitating, because I ain't got no degree for teaching, but facilitate a little bit so that people can understand our people, you know what I'm saying? And those allies that are out there, you know, that we just haven't met yet, that are coming. But yeah, this was great. I can't wait till next Tuesday.
Oh, somebody responded. That was you, Zay.
so I had pulled up the thing to watch it so that I can still be in there. So like
Well,
it is
I
interesting.
guess
It's interesting working with everybody and the fact that we don't know each other, but we can relate to each other, and everybody respects everyone's opinion, no matter if it's like nobody can be right, nobody can really be wrong, because we all have a different thought of things and the way we see it. So everyone's opinion actually matters and counts.
It does. Being around y'all, being in this group is allowing me to, because I pretty much withdrew from gay society. Um, it's allowing me to experience the other aspects of the life that I don't get day to day in my life. And it's been a while since I've had those different experiences around me on a regular. Because I went back to just being a average Joe, just living a. I'm not gonna say regular because regular is different things to different people. I just went back to living an average life, and I'm not exposed to the community like I used to when I was really active in the community. So this is kind of like a nice place to bounce ideas off or thoughts off, but also to see how other LGBTQ community are affected by 2025 and the current world we live in. And it's great for me. It's really great.
It's therapy.
it was like
Um,
therapy. Like
Yeah,
we unloading a lot of.
Mm-hmm.
right.
so I got a question for everybody in here. Am I the only one that has to tiptoe through conversations with people in the LGBT community now because everything offends everybody?
No.
I think since they separated the flag into all these different groups,
Hmm.
now you have to be you can offend people being a gay person, having a conversation with them because of all of the new separations and categories. And am I the only person that feels like they have to be cautious when they speak in gay environments now because you don't know who you're going to offend
Absolutely.
unintentionally?
Let me tell you, I used to be like that, Tim. I am not like that anymore because you can at least give me one chance to make a mistake. Let me apologize. Because especially when you're in a room with 50 different people, right? Okay, let's just say a room full you in a room with 50 different people, y'all at a conference. And it's just not a LGBT conference. It's just a conference, but because of where you work, that's why they got these pronouns now. They want you to put them, and I love that. Put your name and your pronouns under so that no one gets it wrong. But if I feel as though some people in our community get so upset
Ugh, they
because
attack.
you misgendered them. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I'm from that's a different that's a different conversation. But I thank God for the woman that I have in my life that helps me with it because I'm from the old school and that's how I was raised. I came out in the 80s. You feel what I'm saying? And it was just a gay man and a lesbian, and then you had someone who was trans. Now you got all these different things, and I have misgendered people, and I've had to say that I'm sorry, and I've had to explain why I misgendered, and I'm so sorry. Please forgive me, but it hasn't happened to them, a second time. I feel like everybody should get a pass.
I don't know.
Vonda,
I've never had that experience. For me, it's a respect thing. If you meet somebody, introduce yourself and allow them to introduce you. But if you are uncertain about something, to me, common courtesy is to ask. I'm not just going to come out and offend. Like, I don't
Pierce,
know.
I'm gonna give you an example of one of the reasons why I asked that question. I was having a conversation with a younger gay guy one day, and I said he or him. And mind you, I'm looking at this guy. He has a man's haircut. He has a mustache. He has a pencil beard.
But
Well, I
he
thought
wears
it
makeup.
was.
All of his clothes that he has on are male clothing, but he is trans. He's the new definition of trans because he feels like a woman inside. How am I supposed to know how you feel inside when everything I see outside of you represents male?
Call him by his name.
I didn't know him to know his name. It was just like we just
How
met and
you
started having
doing? My name is Tim. What is your name?
right.
That's
But
the world we live in now. How you doing? My name is Peirrce. What is your name?
And what if he said his name is Larry?
Okay, well, Larry, how are
right,
you doing, Larry? And that's what I will call Larry. If I was to go and say pronouns, Larry, what are your pronouns?
Right. Okay.
Because a person can be queer.
Hmm.
And that
right,
don't mean I'm a woman in the inside. I'm just queer. I may not even be defining myself or she or he. But you
right.
won't know that if you ask. We gotta let go of the expectations of
Okay.
the way you look on the outside is what I think you are. It's not about what you think, it's about who they are.
Right. I got a question
Okay.
for.
I understand all of that, but how is a person supposed to know? Like we just started having a
Ask.
random conversation without introducing ourselves. You know,
Oh,
it was
well,
about
then, and just have the conversation. And then when you get to a part where you feel like you're about to say he or she, just like, you know what? I never asked you your name. My name is Tim. We just sitting here talking. My name is Tim. What's your name?
okay. So you have go out of your way
You
to
take
ask
the
that these
yep,
days.
yep.
Yup.
Okay. Okay.
Don't,
That's the
That's what I was
new
looking for.
that's
don't,
the new
That's
don't
what I
manners
was looking
too.
for.
assume.
Tim and I
Huh?
are from the same city. We grew up
Yeah, we
together.
are. We grew up
That's
together.
the new manner. Telling you, man, you better take Peirce's master class. She got you.
Well,
I
enroll me
would.
because I be offending people unintentionally. And when I was young and roaming around in the gay society, we didn't have all of that, uh, all of those steps to of being gay together. We just were gay together. We just had
Well,
conversations. So I'm trying to learn so that I don't offend anybody. So that's why I'm asking the question.
Kalani, what is your take on it? I'm sure because Kalani is trans, you would have a. How should Tim
Yeah,
address it?
but
I know
but
how
but,
I would address it.
I think
but
that
I look at Kalani and I see a woman.
right,
I immediately know to say she or her or
But
ma'am or
that's we
miss.
got to change that
but
expectation.
I think you should just like she said, go in. Hey, my name is so and so. What is your name? Because you can never go wrong with the person name. You said this is your name. That's what we going with.
Right, right.
So, but I think when we start having the expectations that, oh, I see a woman or I see a man or I see visibly what I see, sometimes visibly what you see is not what's going on. Because some people may be in the early stages of transition. Some people may decide that they feel a certain type of way on the inside, but it doesn't mean that the physical change. You know what I'm saying? So I think it would just be based upon the name and then
Got you.
wash it.
Thank you.
I appreciate you for that.
No problem.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I was at going to ask Kalani. Kalani, do you know how they already classify us when it comes to the LGBT community? Do you think life for you was? Do you feel like you was more comfortable with yourself, the process of transitioning, or after the transition?
Will you explain it a little bit more? What do you mean?
Were you? Do you feel like you dealt with more problems trying to figure out which side you wanted to be on more so than just being how you are now?
Yeah, but I don't think it had anything to do with anybody else. I think it was more so what was going on with me. Because when you're unsure of yourself, people can pick that up. They can pick up that energy. They can pick up what's going on with you. I think that I became more confident in who I am after certain processes, and I started, you know, checking some stuff off the list that I wanted to get done and all that kind of stuff. It just kind of did something with the dysphoria that I was having. So I think I feel more comfortable afterwards, I guess, because when you're going through, it is a actual transition. It doesn't happen where you wake up one day and I'm trans and everything is all peaches and cream the very next day. It's a process, and I think you work through different things. You have to relearn yourself. You got hormones going through your system, so you're starting to think differently. It's a lot. So I would say afterwards, because you get to a certain point.
Kalani, are you coming back with us next Tuesday? And no is not an answer.
Yes, I'm coming back. I enjoyed you guys.
Yeah.
I
Yes.
Yay.
Yes, I
Uh,
enjoyed everybody.
I think she's a whole different angle that was missing that we needed.
yes.
Oh,
So, any more questions for anybody?
where's Stan?
Oh Lord, let me see if
And
I can get Stan. I think
Where's
Stan,
Stan at? Hey, Stan.
Stan,
I
I
gotta
think
talk to him.
Stan froze.
Stan,
She
why
said,
you holding your
"Where's
peace like
Stan?"
What's
that?
wrong, Stan?
She said, "Where's Stan?"
Staying asleep, y'all. Leave that man
Is
alone.
he asleep? Is he asleep? I'll ask him
I
next
don't
week.
know what's going on.
I'll ask him next week.
So, did y'all find yourselves relating to any of the panelists more, or felt like you had a more of an understanding,
I
like y'all
did.
Um,
understood each other?
I
I,
did.
I feel like that it was more understanding only because I feel like when it comes to the LGBTQ community, I feel like out of all the panelists, we have somebody from every angle.
right. I think that's what makes it hot.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Kalani was what we were
Missing.
missing. And
Right.
I have lots of questions, but I'll probably ask a question, like, since you're gonna be here next Tuesday, I'll have another question for you. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely.
And I appreciate that. Stan looking like profile picture. But I really appreciate you, being a part of our panel. It's a way for us to grow, and I thank you. Especially me. I can only speak for me. For me to grow, being, I'm older. I don't look it, but I'm older, and so, based on our topics and everything, um, I probably will. I got questions now, but I'm wait. Man, I ain't gonna do that to you. I'm asking every week, one every week, just because I need that education. You feel me? I appreciate it.
One every week. This is
Yeah, because she may answer it in the questions that you ask, and I can mark it off the list.
that is true.
Yeah.
That is true. Were y'all all comfortable with the questions?
Yeah.
I enjoyed everybody though, but one of the things I wanted to say was how I thought people were going to answer the questions based upon who they were, and they didn't do it that way, and I like that part because I can expect the unexpected. So
Oh yeah, no. It'd be no. Well, what I've learned from this group as being the second time, everybody pretty much don't have no. They don't have a filter. Let's just say it's
right.
like
Perfect word. Perfect word.
What you saying is you was looking for some saved answers and
Not
they didn't
saved
come.
answers, not saved answers, but
Yeah.
based upon people, I was thinking they was gonna answer a certain way or they was gonna say, and it just didn't turn out that
That's
way.
the point. If you was on last week, the one
Woo.
that
Oh,
went
I watched it. I did watch it.
Last week was
Jay say,
bananas.
great job, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, Jay. Thank you so much.
I'm wondering what Kalani thought, what she thought everyone else was going to say. Like, what did you think? Like, I'm trying to figure out, like, who said something. Like, I expected Stan to say exactly what Stan said.
Listen, there were certain questions that you were asking, and when it got to when you said you was putting a certain person in the hot seat, I said, "Ooh!" In my head, I'm like, they're gonna answer like this, they're gonna say this, and then when they started talking, I was like, "Ooh, oh, okay,
I
oh,
feel like I feel like
they think like this."
yeah, I agree with you, Kalani. I feel like it's like when she asks
Yeah.
the questions, it's like she knows who to ask first
Right,
because she feel like
right,
they can relate to it
Uh-huh.
more, or that she know what their point of view going to be like.
yeah. That's how I was sitting there like, I know she's ready to say this. I know she gonna say, "Oh no," and so it just kind of I
That
like that
her.
though, that I don't know what you're gonna say.
Right.
I do. I like that.
None of
I
all of us
expect Stan to say everything that he says.
I love Stan.
Yes.
I do
Tell you,
too.
from the day that I first met him,
That gets boring.
and I did have a
I agree,
question
Jay.
for him, being from Atlanta. But he answered it
Yeah.
with the somebody in Atlanta that does the history.
Right. That's where Stan is. He's in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Yeah. Think it was an awesome show. I
Okay.
know the questions was a little bit hard, but with it being the holiday, I just wanted the audience to understand what it feels like being us
Mm,
during these times. And
right.
it's not always easy.
That's
That's
why we're innovative people and we always find a way. So it's a lot of times we have our own celebrations on the holidays so that we don't have to be a part of the separation and the ignorance. And it's sad that we have to do things that way, but I enjoy my peace. I would rather go to an event knowing that I'm going to be welcome and it's going to be a friendly environment and I'm going to be accepted, as opposed to going to an event with the intentions of having a good time and not knowing what I'm going to walk into. So, maybe in the gay community, we need to continue to fight for our space, but we need to just organize events of our own, celebrate the holidays, and keep it moving. Don't stop fighting for our space, but don't deprive ourselves of celebrations around people that love us and that we may love or love just because of the separation. Like, I stopped letting people stop me a long time ago. Like on the show, we've talked about a lot of our experiences in the beginning, but my experiences in a lifestyle went from a very rough to beginning to me being able to see things and travel places and meet people that I would never trade in for anything else. And I think as the show goes on and we hit more current topics, we're going to get a chance to discuss how we evolved as people despite the rough beginnings or the roadblocks or the damage that our families caused. I think this is a necessary show. All the questions you asked tonight is stuff that people need to hear. They need to be a part of. I'm pretty sure it hit home with some of them too. And at the same time, they got educated on the struggles that we face just to do things that they take for granted.
I don't know
Right.
about y'all, but I'm gonna need we coming up on our 4th show. When I go places, I'm gonna need security.
So has anything, I do have a question. Now we're going to get off here at 10:30. If anybody that's watching has a question, please drop it in the chat so I can ask. But did anything just take you like, I never thought about that when you were listening? Did you like what just thrown all the way back?
Yeah, I was gonna say that. That was gonna be what I was gonna say. That there was some the questions that you asked tonight caused us to go a little deep and consider some things that we probably hadn't considered. I know for me, I hadn't even thought about some of that stuff, but when you asked it, I was like, dang, what would I do? You know? So I think it was very thought provoking, and it's causing me to go out of this particular show with a different outlook on certain things that I would have never considered.
Yeah, the George Floyd question. And when Kalani brought up about the trans person being what happened at that protest, it made me think of myself because I'm so used to walking these streets just like nobody's going to touch me. It just made me think like wow, I need to be more careful because that could be me. You feel what I'm saying? So yeah, it was very thought-provoking questions, deep questions. I learned, and I got some things to add to my tool belt tonight. I appreciate y'all.
What about you, Andre and Zay? Anything really thought provoking that made you just go, what? What?
I'm
For me, I
I'm
think it's, you want to go
go
ahead?
ahead.
Oh,
Go ahead.
for me, I have grown accustomed now with this show to not come in thinking much, um, on expecting myself not to learn. I was talking to one of my best friends, and I was explaining to him or sharing with him that I feel that this show is one of the most thought provoking shows that someone could not just watch but learn from. Because that's what I look for when I look into podcasts. I'm not looking to be entertained. I'm looking into what are you going to teach me. And I feel that as a person in the many different fields and hats that I wear, like I can literally take topics from this show and use them in education, use them in ministry, use them in community activism, use them in philanthropy. Um, because you hit top like your questions hit things so deep on the head. And I don't know if that was like your whole purpose behind with the show, but you smack the nail. You don't just tap it. It's like you take the hammer and just you know, and and I love that because sometimes I people need to hear the truth unadulterated and non-sugar coated.
That's
Now,
it.
I often say that the reason why the church is ineffective is because we sugarcoat too much. Hence for fun why I act the way I act behind my pulpit. Because in my house, you don't have to stay; it's a door. So don't look at me like that, Kalani. So so where I'm at with even with my ministry now is you don't have to accept my beliefs, or you don't have to accept where I stand on certain agendas and certain topics. But if you're gonna walk in my door, you're gonna learn to respect it. And if that's something you can't respect, the door you walked in, it opens both ways. And so, I feel like this show is going to be that pivotal point where people are going to be able to look at this from all walks of life and be like, yo, I've been messing up. And now I got to get me together. And so when your email box and your inbox start blasting off real crazy, and them Kojic Saints start hitting you up, just be ready. But whatever you can't answer, send it my way. Because we have to be intentional in our delivery, but we also have to be real with the people. And I feel like because there's so much truth behind, the 7 individuals that's on this flyer, there's so much lived history. There's so many experiences we've been through. There's so many, even Zay and I think, and Dr. and Kalani are probably, like, I think the youngest on the panel, maybe. I ain't sure. But I'm saying, like,
are you kidding? I'm 40 years old.
She telling the story. She been 40 for several years.
But I'm saying, like there's so much lived history.
I'm actually the youngest.
Like I've said, even with, I had a discussion with some educators, and one of them was saying something about a child can't tell them nothing. I said, do you understand what these kids that we have to teach they are going through?
They can tell you a lot. Actually.
Like they can teach you stuff that would probably blow your mind because you've never lived what they're going through. And it just, so for me, it's just with the amount of knowledge we have here based off of just personal lived history alone. Peirrce been through some things, but she's opened doors. Smack been through things, but she's opened doors. Tim been through things, but he's opened doors. Kaylani is one of the biggest pushers I've ever met in my life. But she's opened doors too. And it changes a person's thought process. And that, I feel like, kudos to Peirrce, because she definitely knew what she was doing by putting this together like this. You woke, Stan?
There goes Stan.
Welcome back.
They've been asking for you, player. They've been asking for you.
I'm gonna ask my question next week.
Oh yeah, you got a question next week, Stan.
All right, good.
But the big shout out to Jay, man. Appreciate you. Like, and I want to say, like, I love this show because INBLK, I love the name. When you brought the ID to me, I was just like, yo, this is what we need. Because, and I'm not racist or anything, but some Caucasian people can really hurt your feelings at times because they are not educated. So a show like this, and I'm talking about, Black heterosexuals too, so they can learn our community. But I just want to talk about the Caucasian community that's in our community. They don't understand, like, our come out ain't like your come out.
No.
I mean, I can only speak like, yo, my story is not like your story. And what I went through is not what you've gone through. You feel what I'm saying? Like, you can't compare it and put it all in the same. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. And I feel like not enough of other nationalities outside of Black really get to listen and hear our story, because sometimes a lot of us are prideful and we don't want to share those stories. You feel me?
Thank y'all. So, y'all got any last words? Because then we're going to wrap it up for next Tuesday when people can join us. And go ahead, Tim.
Well, the Caucasian community, the Caucasian LGBTQ community, they feel that they are the standard. So everything starts around them. To be accepted, you have to be able to fit in with them. You have to meet their standards. You have to meet their requirements. So they don't really think about a majority. I'm not going to say all, because just like us, we're not the same. They're not all the same. But a majority doesn't think about us because their standard is the standard that everything is set by. So why would they think about us? I'm just excited about being in this group because everybody in this group is a combination of things that I've been exposed to, from dance competitions to pageantry to drag shows to football, basketball to ballroom. Exposed me to a lot of trans experiences. Stan isn't the only one who is trans attracted. And this group of people just has my mind just remembering, and it's just a good place to be right now to be able to have conversations with other gay people because I haven't done it regularly in a long time. So thank you for including me in this process. Thank you for including me and just being able to be a part of reaching out to people and informing people and letting them know more about us and our right to be here and our standing. And that we people just like them. Like they demonize us so much, but we are people just like them. And just like they feel life is hard, life is even harder for us because we have an additional strike against us. That's it. I know we're trying to end the show, so I'm cutting it short.
Well, anybody has any last words? Any last words before we sign out?
Stan said he has some words.
Mhm. I gotta catch a plane in New York in the morning.
Oh, okay. Any last words?
No,
We all good?
we
Well,
are.
everybody, I guess we're ready to wrap this up. That was In Black, Embraced or Erased. I hope everyone enjoyed the show. I hope, more importantly, everybody learned something because I know I always do every week. And I look forward to being on this panel next Tuesday at 8 p.m. Please, when you get a chance, share this live. And if you have some free time on Saturday, please join us at the I Am Me Pride Brunch on Saturday morning in Wilmington. It's on our website, imecorp.org, or download the mobile app, IME Corp or IME Inc. That is it for us. Y'all have a great night. We will talk to y'all next Tuesday, and it'll be in what, y'all? In
Black.
black. Y'all
And
have a good night.
black.